All right, everybody, I am back. Good to be back. Good to be back. And I'll say this. Ohio State, Oregon, probably the single biggest result. The single most entertaining result from Saturday, though, I don't think there's any debate. It was Texas and Arkansas down there in Reynolds Stadium in Fayetteville. Final score, Arkansas 40, Texas 21. And let me be the first person to just say this. No, Texas is not back. Okay, I'm the 5,000th person to say it, but it was incredible to watch this game. It was incredible to see the reaction to this game because I kind of knew how people felt about Texas coming in. I don't think I realized the vitriol and how much hatred and how hysterical it is to watch Texas get embarrassed on a national scale until I actually watched this game. And I'll also say this, by the way. I need to give myself a little slap on the wrist here because I'm going to bring back the segment where Aaron was right, where Aaron was wrong here in the next couple days, probably on Wednesday's episode. I was way wrong on Texas. I said coming out of week one, I thought they were one of the more surprisingly impressive teams. Maybe Louisiana just stinks because Texas was absolutely embarrassed on Saturday. And I don't want to spend too much time actually breaking down the game because it's more fun to talk about the storylines outside of the game. But in terms of the game itself, Arkansas was completely dominant. Final score was 40-21. Really wasn't even that close relative to the final score. Arkansas almost 500 yards of total offense, 333 yards rushing. Like Oregon, over 7 yards per carry. It was just a butt whipping of epic proportions. And we'll talk about the Arkansas side of this in a minute because Sam Pittman is absolutely incredible. But from the Texas side, welcome to the SEC Texas. That was another thing. We all did it. But as I said on Twitter on Saturday night, I think Texas might have to ask for an invite back to the Big 12 after that because it was an absolute butt kicking. But to me, it wasn't just it wasn't just the idea that Texas lost this game, and it was just the idea that Arkansas won. I don't want to break down the actual result because I don't think it matters in the big picture. I don't talk about teams that are going to be 4 or 5 loss teams, which is what I think Texas is going to be. But the reaction to Texas losing, to me, was absolutely hysterical. Because like I said, I know Texas's reputation. I know the vitriol they create in some fan bases. I don't think that I realized how much college football unites around Texas not only losing, but embarrassing itself on the national stage. And what I will say is I understand why that is the case. And I understand it maybe more now than I ever have. Texas is a pain in the butt to deal with. And they carry themselves as if they are this incredible God's gift to college football. And there's just nothing to reflect that they're actually as good as their arrogance would indicate. And by the way, Texas fans, if you're listening, I'm sorry. It's the truth. It's how we all feel about you. And so I look at Saturday, and I see the reaction of Arkansas fans, of A&M fans, of Bama fans, of everybody just got a kick out of watching Texas get their butt kicked, and I think it's good reason. By the way, you know who else got a kick out of it? Everybody that's left in the Big 12. Oh, you want to leave us? Good luck in the SEC, and that was the reaction. And so when I saw the reaction, I kind of went back, and I was like, okay, why do people feel this way? And it's because exactly what I said. There is an arrogance level to Texas that just doesn't match the outcome on the field. You look at Texas over really the last 15 years. First of all, never forget, they tried to break up the Big 12 about 10 years ago. They think they're too good for the Big 12 10 years ago. They get the Longhorn Network, so they decide to stay. And you feel like you're so important that you can just leave. You feel like you're so important that you deserve your own network. You think you'd have some success on the actual football field, and instead it was the exact opposite. Texas has been awful. I don't think people realize how bad Texas is. Like we do the joke of Texas back, what about this, da-da-da-da. Texas has been bad over the last decade, okay? Texas won their last Big 12 title in 2009. 2009, okay? Just for some perspective, we crushed USC and Clay Helton. Clay Helton won a Pac-12 title since then. We crush all sorts of schools. All sorts of schools have had success. Jim Harbaugh's had 3 10-win seasons since then. But when I look at Texas, zero Pac-12 titles since 2009. In that span, you know who's won, or 0 Big 12 titles, I should say, since 2009. You know who's won a Big 12 title since then? Kansas State has won a Big 12 title since Texas won a Big 12. Baylor has won the Big 12 since Texas won the Big 12. TCU has won a Big 12 title since the Big 12, since Texas last won the Big 12. You know who else has 2? Oklahoma has won 7 outright Big 12 titles since the last time Texas won one, and 8 overall. So, like, when you talk about the pantheon of arrogant programs, like, there are some programs that are arrogant, and it's justified. Like, you could criticize Ohio State, and I know we just talked a little bit about it, but, like, they basically win the Big Ten every year. If they're arrogant, it's for a reason. They're better than everybody they play. Maybe they get to the college football playoff. Maybe they finally meet their match. But, like, at least they go 12-0 every regular season. I'm trying to think of who else. Alabama's arrogant. But guess what? Alabama wins every freaking game by 40. I'd be arrogant, too, if I was an Alabama fan. But Texas, you haven't won jack you-know-what in basically forever. And that's the amazing thing about Texas is I think we all think that they have this incredible history, and again, that's where the arrogance comes from. But it was funny. I was talking about it on my radio show on Saturday night. I'll just give you an example, right? Like Nebraska. We all make fun of Nebraska and, like, how do they think they should be relevant on the national scale in college football? Well, like, Nebraska, I understand they have some real limitations, and I understand, frankly, the Big 12 or the Big 10 hasn't been a good fit. Probably should have stayed in the Big 12, left the Big 12 because of Texas. But Nebraska has won 3 national championships in the last 30 years, okay? Like, it's not as though Nebraska at any point in recent history has not been relevant. Now, they haven't been good in a long time, but 3 national championships in the 90s is not a million years ago. There are people in their 30s and 40s that remember Nebraska being like a national power. But Texas, they had the 1 national title with Vince Young. And before that, the last time they won a national title before that? 1971. 1971, which means that basically nobody that listens to this podcast really remembers a time where Texas was truly, like a truly nationally relevant program. Now, maybe you're a little bit older. Maybe we have people that were born in the 40s or 50s that listen to this show. And to Texas's credit, they did win 3 from 63 to 70. That was a long time ago, though. So for people in their 60s and 70s that do remember, shout out to you. The rest of us in the 21st century don't really remember much of Texas. Last thing I'll say on Texas, I was thinking about this. If they were in the SEC this year, where would they rank? Because I'll tell you, they would have been very good. And I think that was obviously why so many people got such a kick out of Texas getting destroyed by Arkansas, because with no disrespect to Arkansas, they are far from the best team in the SEC, and they boat race Texas, okay? And obviously I know there's a lot of Southwest Conference ties from the old days, and so Arkansas fans truly enjoyed this one, and you should, and we're going to get to Arkansas in a minute. But when I look at Texas, if they were in the SEC now, where would they be? I came up with a list, okay? Don't think they're better than Alabama. Think we can all establish that. Certainly not better than Georgia. Certainly not better than Oklahoma, who will join them. So in a 16-team SEC, that's already 3 teams right there. They're certainly not better than Arkansas, because Arkansas just destroyed them. I certainly don't think they're better than Florida. I have questions about Florida going into the Alabama game this weekend, but they're not better than Florida. That's 5 teams right there. Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Florida. Don't think they're better than Ole Miss, which just absolutely destroyed Louisville the other day. They look awesome under Lane Kiffin. And I'll tell you, I don't think they're better than Kentucky, who took care of business against Missouri, was dominating, kind of let Missouri back in the game, couple fumbles on the goal line, whatever. Kentucky put up 500 yards of offense against Missouri the other day. So to me, I think you're talking about Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, which is going to join them. Arkansas, that's 4. Florida's 5. Ole Miss is 6. Kentucky 7. And I'll just tell you, I don't think the list necessarily ends there. I mean, Mississippi State I forgot about Texas A&M. What am I doing? Texas A&M is obviously better than them. So that's 8. What is that? 8 or 9 teams right there. I'm losing track here. Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, A&M, that's 4. Arkansas is 5 for sure. Florida, Ole Miss, Kentucky. That's 9 teams. That's 9 teams, and I did not include Mississippi State, which is 2-0, and I did not include LSU, which may eventually rally. So we're talking about, in a best-case scenario right now, Texas being the 10th best team in the SEC. Shout out to the Horns. Horns down. Hook 'em Horns. What a day. What a day for college football. I don't think I've ever seen the reaction that I have seen from fans to Texas doing what Texas did yesterday.